Boy, that time flies and you're having fun. Welcome back, guys and gals. JJ here once again, schooloftrade.com. Got another great psychology lesson for you guys and gals today. Today's trading psychology question of the day. Great question. Want to thank you guys always for sending in those questions. He says, I can't seem to stay patient long enough to wait for the best trading opportunities. He goes on and says, I know my strategy works because when I use the rules, I usually make money. But I just can't seem to stay patient, and I wind up forcing the situation, which usually ends up in a loss. He asked, do you have any suggestions, any strategy on how to stop forcing those trades each day? Because it's costing me money every week. Boy, great question. Thanks again for sending in all the questions, and certainly an obstacle that I definitely had to overcome when I was in your shoes, and I'm sure most traders battle with this as well. So how do we stay patient for the best trades? How do we stop forcing trades? I guess that's the big question, right? How do we stop forcing trades? First of all, just so everyone's on the same page here, the word forcing trades can be associated with a few different scenarios, such as taking trades that don't fit your rules, or taking too many trades, right? Over trading could be lumped into the same category as forcing trades. Here's interesting too. I thought this is an interesting idea too. Taking trades with too much risk or too big of a position size. In other words, you're trying to force the market to pay you too much on each individual trade, right? You're trying to get rich on every trade, right? Taking home run trades. That will be a form of forcing trades. And let's be honest, this is the opposite of what most successful traders do, right? Successful traders, they wait for the moment when the odds are in their favor and when they have a statistical edge over the opposite side of the market. In other words, the best traders wait for the market to come to them rather than chasing after the market each day. Forcing trades is the exact opposite. You're trying to impose your will on the market, right? You're trying to make the market work for you. The most common offenders, right? The most common types of people who like to force the markets, right? Force their trades, are usually extremely competitive people. They've probably been extremely successful outside of trading as well. They're smart, they're driven to succeed. And in fact, you probably know a couple of these people. You might be one yourself, right? They almost hate losing more, right, than they like winning. Okay, I can definitely relate to that sometimes. They would rather trade incorrectly to try and make money than to do their jobs correctly, following their rules to make consistent money. The most common reasons why people force trades is because of their trading performance. That's probably why most people force trades, right? They've either taken some recent losses or they aren't trading as often as they want. We've definitely seen that here late 2017 when the markets have lost a lot of their volatility in the short term, right? Forcing trades when you're not getting as many trades as you might want, or maybe you've seen a market really run, maybe you missed a great opportunity and now you're forcing it, trying to make up for that perceived loss of profit that you had on a missed opportunity. Whatever the case may be, in my experience, my biggest frustration with forcing trades comes from anticipating something before it happens. In other words, I'm trying to lead the market, when in reality, the only way to be successful in trading, over the long term at least, is to let the market lead me so I can follow. It reminds me of an old saying an old mentor of mine had, and he said, we want to be the fly on the back of the elephant, just along for the ride, right? So find out what direction the elephant's running in, right? Jump on back. That's on its back. That seems to be a very accurate kind of metaphor, right, for forcing a trade. No matter what the reason is, right? Let's be honest. Over trading is a problem, and the end result is almost always going to be the same, right? We force trades, we try to make something out of nothing, and in the end, we usually put ourselves further from our goals than when we started the whole process. And then at the end of the day, this is the worst part. At the end of the day, we look in the mirror, right? And we can't really argue with the fact that we cost us money, right? If we just followed our rules, we'd have made money. It was almost like somebody else had control of my mouse and was forcing me to push the buttons. And I think that's the biggest challenge for us as traders. Being a successful trader requires us to control our wants and our desires, control our aggression, which becomes very challenging when you've got highly successful, highly competitive people, right? And also when the price action moves quickly and there's money on the line. I can easily see how this can all bubble up and become a big, big psychological problem. The most important piece of this puzzle is to clearly define specific situations where the market offers a reliable opportunity and having the patience to wait for that moment to occur. The most effective way to resolve this problem of forcing trades is to use very specific rules as part of our trading strategy. When we force a trade, we're actually putting our desire to make money ahead of our desire to follow our rules and do our job. Most importantly, when we consistently use rules, our actions become easier each time and they soon become a habit. And those habits are hard to break and they help us achieve, right? Those habits are what's going to help achieve that long-term success. In other words, the correct trading rules are essential to avoid forcing a trade. They become the correct trading actions. And when used consistently, those actions become long-term habits, which is important because habits don't require much effort and they allow our brain to focus on new and more important challenges in the future. But, wait a second. If it was as simple as using rules, we'd all be right. We'd all be rich. Using rules isn't just the end-all solution. The challenge actually comes when we try to force ourselves to follow those rules each time. And this really brings back memories when I was first learning to trade. It's exhausting, right? You've got one eye on the rules, you've got one eye on the charts, and you're kind of going back and forth, and it's exhausting, right? It can be really, really exhausting. It takes our attention away from trading, and it puts it on a checklist or a cheat sheet, right? So how do we make following our rules easier, right? Because I could give my set of rules to 100 different people, and very few of them would be able to follow rules consistently for a long period of time. So how do we make following our rules easier, right? How do we make it less energy consuming? How do we make it automatic, like brushing our teeth or tying our shoes? It's simple, through repetition. Now, just like you learned how to tie your shoes when you were a child, you learned the technique, you did it every day, okay, and eventually, right, tying your shoes or brushing your teeth became an activity that you could do in your sleep. It became a habit that takes almost no energy or no mental capital, and that habit is probably, hopefully, right, with you to this day. So to make it easier for you to follow your rules, to make it less labor intensive, right, which will make it easier for you to resist the temptation of forcing trades, here are 5 simple ways to create a habit of following your rules. First rule, take a moment to write down your most important trading rules. Now, before you jump ahead, before you click off this video, right, I'm not going to leave you at just write down your rules, right? So stick with me here. These rules should include everything you use to make a trading decision. Trend, setup, risk you're going to take, reward you'll accept, position size, trigger, right? Keep in mind, now a professional trading plan like the one I give to all of my clients will include a lot more than just these details, right? It's not just getting into trades, it's also getting out of trades you want to worry about. But for this example though, right, let's just use these basic rules I've listed here, right? But keep in mind, just entry rules are not going to be enough. You're going to have to fill in the gap, right, with management, exit rules, and then of course your daily profit goals, your loss target, right, things like that, which we've talked about in previous lessons. Okay, that'll get you started. Now, really, really important, now that you have that list of rules in place, I would then recommend you put them in order of how the trade develops and what you need to look at first and what you need to look at last. For example, my entry rules, my first rule says, are you going with the trend? Right? And my last rule says, look for the best signal candle. Does that make sense? My goal is to list my entry rules in order of how I'm going to use them. My first rule is very broad. Joe, make sure you're going with the trend. Okay, really easy. I can check that rule right off. But my last rule is a lot more specific. Okay, make sure I have the good signal candle. I want it to be strong, but not too strong, right? I want it to close it a certain way, very specific. Okay, I don't want to worry about the signal candle at the beginning of my rules, right? I want to wait till the end when it's more relevant to the actual trading decision. Okay, so the first thing is write down those rules and organize them for when you're going to use them. Does that make sense? Right? Now, second step, create a daily routine that has you reading your rules before you begin trading. I know, seems pretty simple, right? But you'd be amazed at how few people actually do this. And I've got to admit, I'm guilty as charged. Okay, my hand's raised in this one too. I live in the West Coast. The opening bell is relatively early for me, right? And sometimes I just don't want to take the time to wake up early and look at my trades, right? Look at my rules, right? I get it. But if you're having trouble right now following your rules, do you want to sleep an extra 10 minutes or do you want to make money today? I think that's simple as that. This is non-negotiable if you're struggling to follow your rules. So get up out of bed, right? Get up off the couch, if you will, right? Get to your desk a little bit earlier, right? And budget an extra 10 minutes of your time each morning to reviewing your rules before you take that first trade. You know, it also helps to visualize yourself following your rules. You know, visualize yourself staying away from those counter trend patterns. You know, close your eyes, visualize that perfect setup, right? That number one setup. Remember in previous videos, we talked about how you got to know what those best opportunities look like? Close your eyes, picture that setup. Picture all the rules lining up, the proper trend, the proper setup, the proper signal candle. You get in, you manage it correctly, visualize it. Just like a baseball player visualizes swinging at a strike, right? Or a quarterback, right, visualizes throwing a touchdown pass, whatever the case may be. Visualize yourself doing what you want to be doing today, right? You might not believe in that mumbo jumbo of visualization, but I'll tell you, it's not going to hurt. I'll tell you that much. By reading your rules and using visualization before you begin trading, you'll have a much better chance at creating habits with those rules over the long term. The third piece of this strategy on how to avoid forcing trades, one of the things I tell my clients every day is that following rules is easy. But we struggle to follow those same rules for an extended period of time. You know, anyone can follow rules for 20 minutes, right? I can have a 4-year-old follow rules for 20 minutes, right? But can you keep the same discipline over 2 hours? That's one of the clearest differences between a rookie trader and a professional trader, right? A rookie trader says, I'm going to follow my rules, I'm going to be disciplined. Half an hour later, right, they're trading everything that moves, right? An experienced trader has the experience to know that that's not going to get them where they need to go. It's not a sprint, right? It's a marathon. We're not taking, nobody has, well, some people do, but not many people have a one-day trading career, right? We're trading for hopefully the rest of our lives. It's a marathon. We have to focus on high probability setups, right? And after 20 minutes, if we can't stay focused on those high probability setups, we have a problem that's easily fixed, right? But we have to identify it, right, and start attacking it. For example, I personally find it pretty easy to be real strict with my rules until about 10 a.m. Eastern time, right? In our trade room, we trade from 8 o'clock Eastern time on, right? So, 2 hours in, all of a sudden it becomes harder to remember the rules, right? You get more loosey-goosey on your trading strategy. It becomes more of a labor to use those rules. And psychologically, really, as you get tired later in the day, you let your guard down. You lose focus, and you're more susceptible to making mental mistakes when the markets move quickly or unexpectedly. For this reason, I would advise you to take what I call strategic breaks from trading to read your rules and do that visualization routine. Everyone's different, but I would imagine that some traders need to do this every 20 minutes. When I was a new trader, I had a little alarm clock on my desk that would allow me to program, now it's all digital, but when I was a new trader, I had an alarm clock on my desk, and I would have it go off every half an hour, right? Didn't matter what I was doing at that half an hour, I would take out my rules, I would read them, visualize them. That's what it took for me to get into the kind of routine of where I didn't need that alarm clock every half an hour, right? And now I'm always just reviewing my rules, right, throughout the trading day. Now again, and I've mentioned this before, right? So everyone's different, right? But I would imagine either every 20 minutes or maybe every 2 hours. And if you're really having a hard time at following your rules or staying patient for your rules, I would highly, highly, highly encourage you to add some sort of meditation into your daily routine. And I've said this in previous lessons. Meditation trains your mind to be more patient, more observant, more disciplined. Meditation it's like a treadmill, right, for your patience muscles in your brain. A lot of it has to do with the fact that as humans right now, we're bombarded by social media, and everything's coming at us at once these days. And so it's difficult for us to slow down and do nothing for a while. We feel like we're not being stimulated long enough. Meditation will kind of get you off that kind of vicious cycle and get you more in line with being patient, right, and being disciplined. Meditation trains your mind more patient. It'll lengthen the amount of time before you allow your emotions to start trading for you. And it will also help anyone who's struggling with remembering your rules after an hour of trading. Now, number 4, the fourth piece of this strategy to avoid forcing trades. At the end of your day, take the time to review each of your trades and compare them to your rules. And then, very important, use a grading system to keep score. For example, if you have 5 rules, right, 5 entry rules, and again, you'll have more than just 5 entry rules, right? But if you have just 5 entry rules, okay, each of those rules serves as 1 point. Okay, now if you followed each of those rules when you entered your first trade, you'd receive a grade of 5. If you only followed 3 out of those 5 rules, right, then your grade would be a 3. Now, at the end of your day, total up all your scores, right, all the trades you took, all the scores, and that final number now is what you want to do better tomorrow. Now, believe me, this is not easy, right? This takes time invested. It takes honesty with yourself, right? You can lie to yourself all you want, but it's not going to help your trading results. It takes time invested. It takes honesty with yourself, right? But it will give you an easy way to measure your success or your failure in following your rules for that day. That way, you can create that habit of following your rules, right? And you continue to improve. And 5, right? The final and 5th aspect of this strategy to stop forcing trades, and I've said this probably 100 times before, social pressure is one of the strongest forces we can use to create positive change in our lives, or negative change, right? We very much are a byproduct of who we surround ourselves with, right? It's your mom wasn't lying to you, right? My mom told me when I was a kid, right? You are a byproduct of who you surround yourself with, right? Social pressure is really important. Simply put, when we tell someone that we're going to do something, we then feel pressure to deliver on those promises. This pressure is even stronger when that person is someone you admire, someone you respect, right? Someone you look up to. The final step in creating a habit is to ask someone to be your accountability partner. That is, find someone who you admire, find someone who you really don't want to let down, and ask them to help hold you accountable to following your rules. I remember when I was a new trader, I asked my wife Megan to be my initial accountability partner. I've also found that your accountability partner doesn't actually need to be a trader. This is many, many, many years ago, right? Megan didn't know the difference between a stop loss and a profit target back then. She made the perfect accountability partner because I couldn't weasel my way through it. I couldn't say, well, it was about to reverse the trend. No, she was like, I don't care. Was it with the trend or not? That's a great accountability partner. Right? At the end of the day, I would finish my day. I would tally up all my points, bring my journal, sometimes on my tail between my legs after the dinner table, right, where she would hold me accountable for following my rules, right? She was incentivized as well. Needless to say, I definitely struggled with this exercise at first, like most people do. But it didn't take me long before I was following my rules because of the power of social pressure. It was easier, in other words, to follow my rules each day than to have to look my wife in the eye, right, and make excuses at dinner. In fact, if you've ever worked my wife, Megan, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? She doesn't take no for an answer. She wants results, and she got great results out of me. Boy, we have covered a ton, and I am running late on time here, right? Let's do a recap here. If you're like me, if you're like most traders, if you're a human being, if you've got blood in your veins, right, you'll probably struggle with forcing trades. The key is to create a habit of following your specific trading rules. And today, I give you 5, right? I give you 5 steps creating a habit of following those rules. The first one was to write down the most important rules prioritized by when they will be used in the setup. 2, I invest the time to read my rules before I trade, and I use visualization. 3, take strategic breaks throughout the day to read and visualize your rules again, right? I would recommend 2 hours in, or maybe every 20 minutes, remember the alarm clock example I gave you earlier. 4, create a grading system, right? Tally up each of the rules you follow, right? So you can see how well or how you're not following your rules. And 5, use an accountability partner, social pressure to incentivize the situation, because we know it works, right? It's not comfortable, but it works. And one more thing. It's important to remember that long-term change does not happen overnight, and you can't change everything at the same time. This is going to take time, and you will find it easier to follow some rules more than other rules. So stay committed, stay focused on correcting 1 or 2 of these mistakes every week. I talked about the index card trick, right, a few months ago, or a few weeks ago, right? And that index card trick, right, one of the items on your index card could easily be one of those rules that you need to work on for next week. You've probably heard me say this many times before. If you're a client of mine, you've definitely heard me say this before. Be firm in your long-term goals. Be flexible in your short-term approach. This means have a clear vision of where you're going, but remember that there will be bumps and bruises along the way, but don't let those small obstacles prevent you from achieving your dreams. So invest the time, don't give up, and use these 5 steps to avoid forcing those trades next time. Guys, I hope you found a ton of value in today's trading psychology lesson, and I would love to hear from you every day about additional topics that you're struggling with as traders. Do me a favor, drop me a comment below this video with any topics you'd like to see me cover in my next psychology video. Right? Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And please don't forget to share this video with a friend who can benefit from this information as well. Because guys, it doesn't matter what markets we trade. It doesn't matter what strategies we use. Even the most experienced and successful traders battle with their emotions when there's money on the line. And don't forget, you can find me every morning digging into the trenches with all of our clients at School of Trade in our trade room. Go to the website at schooloftrade.com and get a great free trial on the homepage of the website. Check out my nightly newsletter published every night, Monday through Thursday, on my blog. Check out my YouTube channel. You guys are already there. Make sure you subscribe to it. And as always, my name is Joseph. Be well out there. Be nice to each other. Be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.